Welcome back. Trust the Process, Dynasty League podcast video chat thing. I am Micah, and I am here with the legendary, the one and only, the fourth string running back. Josh, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty well, Micah. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's nice to have you. I know we've had this plan for a couple weeks. Your moment's here. It's our time to shine. Speaking about our time to shine, you can see we are without Jacob tonight. He decided to go drink beers instead of do this. So way to go, Jake. On that note, let's review scores from last week. Sneaking ahead there. Last week, I played against Stu's team. We about doubled him up there. Going into the Monday night game, I think I was up 62 points on him, and he had 62 points. So I think I said I was going to take him up behind the shed and bury him, and we did there. Jake played against Making Moves. Pretty dominant win there as well. 30-something points. Wasn't really super close. Bordeaux, he more than doubled up Lonely Boys here. Lonely Boys with, is that the low of the year?
I think that might be.
It's
I know I've
close.
had some pretty shitty games, but nothing that bad.
56 might be the low of the year. We'll have to go back and look at that one. We had Broken Steps team versus your team, Josh. Tough loss there, huh?
Yeah, it didn't help that. Can you click on my team? I forgot the dude's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Khalif Raymond. Didn't help that he laid me a goose egg. Literally 2 days before the game, there was an article from Jared Goff about how he was singing Khalif Raymond's praises and how they have such great chemistry. And I'm like, all right, I'll start a Lions player, get some good points, and then get screwed with the goose egg. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay,
yeah.
Well.
I think he had a 100-yard game the week before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected a goose egg. I don't think he's probably an every week producer for you, but a goose egg is a bit surprising. And a down game from Kyler Murray. It's a very winnable week for you. But I know you're rebuilding here, so probably aren't too hard over it.
I'm not sorry to see the lose. But yeah, I thought I would at least make it a more of a fight than what it was.
Right. Next up, we had Najee and the Jets beating Tony Island. Pretty standard there. And then we have this Schneider Bowl. This was one that was projected really close. It's two brothers going against each other. And the mullet man himself, J-Rod, pulled out the 2-point win. So congrats to him. He got in the win column.
Yep.
So it's been a long year for him, but he's on a hot streak now. So we'll see what's going on there. Activity this week. There wasn't a lot to speak of. There we go. The main thing being that Jeremy McNichols got claimed for $66. We had 5 guys put a claim in for him. I don't know. That feels about right for him for what he's stepping into. Adrian Peterson at $27. I think this is probably the guy people actually wanted. I would guess Adrian Peterson outscores Jeremy McNichols this week. And who knows going forward, but I'm expecting a bigger role there.
Yeah, at least this week I would agree.
So we'll see. I think Jeremy McNichols has 7 carries on the year coming into this week. So with that, we reviewed last week's scores, the activity. Josh, I want to talk about you here for a minute. All right. My first question for you is, I know last year it was your first year ever playing fantasy football, and you dove right into this Dynasty League with us. How are you enjoying it so far? What's your experience been?
And I am enjoying it. I still think of myself as very green. I don't have any way to watch the games at home, so I'm literally going week to week just looking at the numbers on the Flea Flicker app. But I am having fun. Just trying to figure out who's going to play the best. Shit talking a little bit with the guys here, making some new friends, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, I will say, for being green, you've always been very active in the league, which has been awesome, right? For better or for worse, you're like, I'm going to figure it out right now. You know, you kind of jumped into that fire, and we're happy to. So, Jake, welcome.
Whoa.
We're mid podcast here, buddy. We're off and running.
Hey, I'll jump in when need be. Hold on, I gotta fix my shit.
While he does that, Josh, I'll ask you my next question. I'm going to go back here in the year because before the year, you were a contending team. At least I thought you were probably a little bit on the outside, but you were at least going to make a push for it. You started off the year 2-0, and then we had a matchup week 3 here. You lost by 4 points, and you said, let's blow it up, and you rebuilt everything. So I'm going to look at the box score here so we can kind of see what your team looked like at that point. What was your decision-making process, and why did you decide to blow it up after this week?
So I've been watching these podcasts like every week because, again, being green, any sort of like insight or ideas as far as how dynasty leagues work that I can get from like you or Jake has been helpful. So I've been watching that. I know in the first week, you both like just really shat on my team and that I wasn't a contender at all.
There was no
and I'm like, you know
there.
what? I get that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try and prove them wrong. I'm gonna actually try and go for the win. The first couple of weeks, I was really watching the trading block, seeing who is getting traded, what picks are getting traded. I saw like J-Rod's whiteout clause and a couple other guys like really trying to sell heavy to get those picks already. And once it got to week 3, I really was just telling myself, like, if I win, I'm going to still try and go for it. But if I lose, I may not have the picks to try and get in weeks 4, 5, or 6. Like if I was going to try and blow it up and get the good picks, get the ones that I needed, I was going to have to do it sooner rather than later. Had I continued going undefeated, who knows how long that could have gone for had I not blown up the team. I would have been happy to ride it out. But yeah, that was a tough loss in week 3. As soon as I did though, I'm like, all right, you know what? Pulling the ripcord, selling it for parts, getting whatever picks that I can to try and rebuild over the next year or two.
Right. Yeah. So, and making that decision early in the season is a big deal if you are going to rebuild, because like you said, if you waited till week 6 or 7, the other teams who have rebuilt, they're already rebuilding. They've already gathered their picks. The teams that are winning have already spent their picks. You're kind of scraping the barrel there at that point. So I think making that decision early is probably a good idea. I think it surprised some of us just because you were so close to being 3-0.
Yeah. I was really hoping, and even looking back in hindsight, I was really hoping that Darnell Mooney would have a bigger role to play on his team. I was following him pretty closely in the offseason, and it looked like he was going to kind of be a breakout star, which I know he is. Varies from week to week, but he's had many weeks where he's the number 1 receiver for Chicago. Even on those weeks, he's still not even putting up double digits.
Right.
So he is not performing anywhere near. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., who I traded, he actually was doing all right, but I just have to agree with what you guys said in week 1. I have a lot of players, like they're not sexy names. They can put up okay numbers, but aside from Kyler Murray and aside from Calvin Ridley, I didn't really have anyone that I could rely on to put up some big numbers from week to week. And even Ridley, before he stepped away for his own reasons, like he wasn't really putting up numbers like he did last year. So
yeah, disappointing year.
Yeah, even in hindsight, I think it was the right call.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not to overstep, but I mean, I think one thing I want to definitely compliment you on is you own a slew of draft picks. I've never got to really talk to you face to face. So nice to meet you, Josh. Thanks for coming on the pod. Sorry, I'm tardy. But I do want to say you own a ton of draft picks. So the second you committed to that blow up and you were like, all right, I'm about to rebuild, you immediately knew what you needed to rebuild. So being someone who you claimed you were green, you at least took away the points that you needed assets. And you definitely have them. You have 2 first rounds in the next 2 drafts. You have 4 seconds next year, which whether those turn into players or you flip them for a solid piece in your rotation, you have a couple young guys who are really good core pieces for you. So you really did go about it a pretty smart way. Was that just something that kind of happened organically, or did you kind of know like, hey, I need to definitely start stockpiling these draft picks, or what was your approach once you decided to hit that explode button on the roster?
And like whether it's true or not, because again, I am green, but this was my thought process is like the players themselves, their performance varies from week to week. You can see on the waiver wire, people are scrambling for like who they think is going to be the next top scorer in each week. As far as what retains value in the long term, in my mind, it's draft picks. As many draft picks as I can pick up, they're still going to be worth something in 3-4 weeks. Whereas you can't really say the same about players. You never know how they're going to handle, especially running backs. I feel like a lot of my running backs have gotten banged up this year. So like just stockpiling these draft picks, saving them for when I need them, and having it essentially as like a currency that like if I see a player that I really want, I have the leverage to where I can barter and try and get them.
Definitely. I like it. Let's move into forecast for next week. Let's give our picks here. Jake, do you have the scores there for where we are at with our pick'ems?
I sure do. Going just a quick recap of last week, we went 5 of 6. So the only thing we got wrong was J-Rod's team not picking up his first victory, which I think we should definitely shouts out to J-Rod. He got his dub for the year.
We did give him a good shout out earlier. The mullet man.
Good. No, so that brings us to still 2 apart. I'm 35-7 on the season, and you are 33-9. And I have the next week matchups wrote out already. I still am undecided on 2 of them that I'll have to pick in the moment here, because they were pretty close to kind of tell. So if you want to go with the Ed, you got the screen control, break them down, and I'll just chime in.
All right. So I face off against Joe this week. Jake, where do you stand on that one?
Yeah. So that is
I'm right here. I'm right here, bro.
That is one where that was one of the ones I'm still unsure of. I am partial to take your team. And I think that's where I'm going to stay. I'm opening up the matchup right now just to kind of peek at it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be you. I can't go against it. He's projected a bit more, but he's got Noah Fant on the COVID list. Debo is starting to kind of fall off. Sam Darnold got benched last week. I mean, he's just got some pieces. He's going to throw Lamar back in and that'll be fine, but he doesn't have a lot of depth behind that to really support what he needs. And your team is sitting in a pretty good spot. As long as Robinson's good to go, you'll be just fine. And you got some people really coming in stride, like AJ Brown is really starting to hit his stride. And without Derrick Henry, he's going to be relied on even more. So I'm going to go with you.
I'm going to take me as well for a lot of the same reasons, mainly being that Noah Fant is out and Debo isn't looking likely to play. CeeDee Lamb is questionable and Dak is still questionable. Maybe if either one of those guys don't play, it changes his projection. So I'll take my side here. Josh, where do you stand on this matchup?
And I mean, realistically looking at the numbers, I think Mike has got this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Joe. I have seen Joe's team put up well over the projected value multiple times this year. I know he's got some questionables there, but I think he could do it again. Last week he beat me and he was on Bimageddon. This week I think he could pull something out. And nothing against your team, Micah. You have a lot of great players. Hell, I gave you some of those great players.
It's like the second best talent in the league.
Yeah, but if there's one thing that I've seen a lot this year, it's that like you have some sexy projections, but you just end up scoring a lot lower than that. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I can see a way where Joe squeaks one out against you.
Jokes aside, I can as well. Joe's ceiling on his team, he could be anyone in the league on any given week if his players hit.
Yeah. Shouts out, Dad. You got this. I'm not voting for you, but you got this.
Next up, we'll jump over to J-Rod's White Claws versus Najee. Probably don't need a lot of discussion here. We have one of the worst teams against one of the hottest teams. I think we're all taking Najee there. Speak up or forever take Najee, I guess. We'll say. Next up, we have Bordeaux against Tony Island. Kind of another situation here. I think Bordeaux is one of the strongest teams in the league. Tony Island also rebuilding. Shouldn't be close here, but I do want to say Tony Island has got some good young guys, and if his team pops off, he could pitch an upset here.
I don't have it falling that way, unfortunately. I mean, feel free to break this one for us and really give us a greater length and lead for me on the pick'ems, but we are going to take Bordeaux's team pretty confidently going into this. His team's got talent. They're a year or two away. You know, he's got some young guys. They just got to solidify their roles. They can have ceiling games, but they got to solidify that role.
Yeah. I'm taking Bordeaux for the record, but just put it out there on the record. Tony Island's going to have a sick upset by the end of the year. He's going to beat one of the top 4 or 5 teams on some bullshit because all of his young guys, they're all going to click in 1 week and it's going to happen.
I hope it's not me, Jason.
Josh, are you with us there? You like Bordeaux here or you like Tony Island?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Cool. Next one, Josh. Why don't you break this matchup down for us here? You versus the Lonely Boys.
This is the other one I was undecided on coming into the pod as well, just so you know, Josh.
And well, thank you, Jake. Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna win it. As much as I would love to hold on to that losing streak and solidify, I don't think I'll be able to lose to take over the first round pick with a Whiteout Claws record. But I was really hoping to hold on to that number 2 draft pick. But this week, after looking at Lonely Boys' bench and just how like devastated it is, I mean, this is his best lineup, and mine could sway a little bit, but I think I got him in the win, unfortunately, which is kind of weird to hear, but yeah.
Jake, where are you going here?
Oh, God damn it. I do think I have to go with you, Josh. I mean, just looking at that team, all of his points went on IR for Joel.
Look at Joel here on the right side of the screen.
Yeah, he's hurting for some people. You know, he's got a free roster spot with Henry Ruggs. He's got Tanya and Thomas, Juju, Carson.
It's a starting lineup right there on IR.
Everyone's on IR. So as much as you're being struck with the bye week blues down on your bench, I just your team does have, like I said, your team's got some talent. You got some names on there. You know, Uzoma is a guy who could easily, he's projected 6, but come Sunday afternoon, he has 24 points because he scored 3 balls for 2 touchdowns and 45 yards. It's insane what he's done this year. And Beasley's been kind of a revelation for you. So I unfortunately do think you're going to take a W here going into this, but you know, I hope you lose out the rest of the way, Josh. I do.
Give me Josh.
Thanks,
as well.
man. It means a lot.
Next up, we have Stu's team versus your team, Jake.
Yeah, that one's pretty much no contest. Stu's team is trash and my team is great. I don't think we need to break it down too much analytically. Sorry, Stu, you suck. Your contender team is going to finish outside the playoffs, man. I'm feeling
you guys need to get
tonight.
Stu on. You guys need to get Stu on this podcast with as much shit talking as he's received the last, I think, like 3 weeks.
He doesn't normally make it home from the bar before 8 o'clock, so it's going to be a little difficult. But
we're tough to get him on, but we're trying. Don't you worry. We need to hear him defend his team, who he claims is a contender. But sitting at 3-5, I don't see a win in the playoffs at that. So yeah, I'm really hoping my team decides to not flop and we take the win. I don't think it'll be close though.
On that note, and I've been burned by Stu before, I'm going to take Stu here. I'm going to do it. I got to catch up to you somehow in the pick'ems. I might as well pick against you. Looking at Stu's starting lineup, it's really not terrible. They've been disappointing, and his team is a pretender. I don't think they can consistently win, but I'm going to pick him here. Darren Waller. Who else are they going to throw the ball to?
Yeah, that's true. They did lose Ruggs. They didn't really throw too much to Ruggs' way anyways. He was good for a few, but it is a factor. It's going to put some more targets in Waller's pocket, and he's obviously healthy after missing that week with the mysterious sprained ankle. And Mike Williams, as long as he maintains being a revelation, there's a chance he puts up those points again. I'm hope not, because I have that bet against you going into this season with Mike
Williams, top 10 wide receiver this year.
Not a chance.
Heard it here.
But they got to do something. Las Vegas has to do something. He's got Josh Jacobs and he's got Waller, so that's really where their offense lies, is in those two people. Derek Carr hasn't thrown to anybody else besides to get to be a chain mover, so you're really not seeing points from that. So there's a chance, Stu. There's definitely a chance. Not a great one, but there is a chance.
Mike Gesicki, number 1 tight end the past 3 weeks, right there.
He's going to
maintain. Good. You got some guys who are due. I mean, Mahomes has been playing bad. Eventually, he's going to just drop like a 50 burger and remind everybody that he's Patrick Mahomes. Might be this week. So I'm going to take Stu. I'm sure he's going to let me down, but
I get it back where you can, And I'm never betting against myself. So,
Josh, who do you like in that one?
You know what? I think I'm actually going to go with Micah and side with Stu on this one.
Dangerous game.
Cold-blooded yes tonight.
Jake, your team looks great, but I mean, I don't know, just something about Stu's team, like that Gesicki, and like you were saying, the New York Giants, like he has both players that are going to be getting all the points for that team. If the Giants alone just get a high scoring game, it's going to be split between those two people, and it's all going to be his points. And like Micah said, Patrick Mahomes just going to drop 50 points eventually at some point. Like he's got a few different avenues to where he could just like bust out a ton of points. And I just got this feeling it's going to be this week.
Sometimes it's just not your week, and it's probably not Stu's week. I'm probably wrong, but
it wasn't my week one time this season, and I felt that pretty badly. I'm just hoping not for 2. My schedule is pretty easy going from here on out. So if I lose, I'd rather it be now than later. I do play Stu, I think, again later in the season when we looked at it after the pod last week. But if it's going to happen, I'd rather it happen now. It's just unfortunately not going to happen because I can't take listening to Stu for another week of all the shit he'll talk. So
I don't want to hear that either. I don't want to hear that at all. But with that said, let's move on to the last matchup. We got Making Moves team against Schneidy's team. Jake, who you got?
That one's going to be Macon. I mean, Schneidy's team, it's a rebuilding team. Macon's team is, however, old AF. But he could do it. I don't think he'll have an issue doing it. Schneidy's team lost, putting up 70-some points last week to his brother. I don't see his ceiling being much higher than that. I don't see triple digits being something he frequents, and I don't see Zach hitting under that too often. So in that case, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be Zach. I'm
going to surprise you here, and I'm taking Schneidy. Reason being, Zach has lost Derrick Henry this week, and I have his first round pick. So I'm just running off of pure hope here that he loses.
I respect it. I respect it.
But Schneidy, I believe in you. Let's go get this W. Put Julio Jones in your lineup. They got no one else to throw the ball to besides AJ Brown. Put Julio in.
AJ Brown, baby. He's back.
And as much as I've kind of like favored the underdog tonight, I think Schneidy is just too much of a sided bet. I'm going to have to go with Macon.
Smart move, Josh. Smart move.
Fair enough. Well, that summarizes all of our matchups. Let's get Josh front and center here, and let's go for our hot take. Josh, send us home. Give us your hot takes.
Hot take of the week, baby.
All right. Well, I was talking with Mike a little bit before this started, and one of my hot takes was that I thought Joe was going to win this week.
Fair enough.
My other hot take is that I think this week is going to be the week where the Lions do not lose.
Yeah, that's a win. You think the Lions are going to win?
Smart move.
I think the Lions aren't going to lose.
That's not going to lose. Riding the bye week blues, but you can't lose. I get it. We won't see too much optimism coming from that locker room this year, so I respect it. We won't lose this week. One pride, baby. One pride.
On that note, we will send you guys out. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do end of season review at some point. I'm sure we'll have you back on for that. To everyone else who's listening, thank you. Joe, if you actually made it this far, which I'm sure you didn't. Hi, Joe. You actually did.
What's up, Dad?
On that note, we'll catch you guys next time. See you later.
See ya.